I have been tracking a bounty hunter's story ever since 2016. Part 1 by Wolfscrown. Let's get straight into that. I'm a professional online tracker, part of a private investigation unit for a rich city. In other words, I can see anything that gets posted from the computers in this district. Our unit works with authorities to make sure the rest of the world thinks we are an insignificant town, but I will not tell further information because I want to keep my identity concealed. This case has been bothering me for years, even after we dismissed it. Years ago, a house and a part of a forest burned down. The media is not welcome in our district, so you probably never heard of this event. We are excellent at what we do. Probably most people never heard of this city. The incident was tracked to 2 posts that were immediately taken down. Anyone who read them were immediately silenced by another special division. Why am I posting this now? Simple. What is posted here, almost nobody believes it. Works of fiction, you may say. There is not much censorship as it was in past years. This is good for you, and for me. The following documents were classified and covered up by our district authorities, but I got a copy that I never disposed. My job was, and still is, to track 2 suspects that were linked to the incident in our town. We did not believe what the documents read until some federal agents came down to take over the case. I'll shut up and let you read what I have so you can make up your own mind. The following testimony was posted from a computer of a hotel at District 3 in a horror fanatic forum. Suspect was an 18-year-old girl at the time of the incident. Please help me. I beg to anyone who is reading my posts as of today, July 10th, 2016. I am posting this on this forum as a last resort. Other websites deleted my post because they thought I was joking, nor considered my words appropriate for their forum. I am desperate. I don't know what to do. After what I went through, nothing is the same. Monsters are real. I'm still having a hard time trying to figure whether the scary monsters my mum used to tell me about are real too. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not crazy. I just know what I saw. Please, read everything and help me decide what to do from now, because I'm terrified. I'm sorry for the terrible grammar. Even after 2 nights, I'm having a bad time gathering my thoughts, but I'll do my best to describe what happened. I am, or was, a night girl working at a bar. I got hired 1 week ago by the owner of a famous local bar after he promised me that I could get lots of money due to my youth and beauty. He insisted that he would support me, that I could have a decent life without having to worry about cash. And so I accepted because I needed that opportunity. Before you start judging me, I had to run away from home before getting hired. After my mother died, my stepfather and his son were becoming very abusive to me, pushing me or grabbing me without any reason. One day, my drunk stepfather entered my room at night. You can imagine what he wanted me to do. I tried to get away, but it was in vain since he just grabbed me and was holding me tightly, hurting my arms. He was very drunk, in tears, whispering my mother's name, and was beginning to lean closer to my face. Out of a miracle, he passed out and I ran away from the house. I was too scared and disgusted of my stepfather and the things he would have done to me if I was to stay more days with him. Again, sorry for stalling. I know you are here to read about what I saw and not about my family problems, but you need context. How I met my boss Rick is a long story. All you need to know is that his bar's main attraction, from 9 PM special event, where many girls like me would be auctioned in a bar. It's not a typical bar. In fact, it is in one of the wealthiest districts of the city. The people that were at the bar were usually wealthy, of class, and willing to spend large amounts of cash gambling. It was known that girls who worked there could make $500 a night if they were lucky enough to get contracted. The thing is that Rick was very greedy. He always tried to get the most money out of the girls, pushing his luck with the clients that were often too drunk to think with the brain they held upstairs. He saw an opportunity in me, and he took advantage of my age, my virginity, and my looks to milk as much money as possible from the clients that came for the auction. I felt that I was his golden goose, and whenever I got on stage, he would make sure everyone put their eyes on me. I would dress in a somewhat revealing white dress, wear some makeup, have my hair done to look perfect for every night working there. I could hear prices from $1,000 to even $1,200, and I was flattered. But my boss would always keep turning down the offers because he said they could do better. I would get off stage pissed with Rick as he was walking me through the tables. I would keep my head down most of the time, or just not making any direct eye contact with the client, since it was mostly grown men grinning and flirting with me. I guess I would thank Rick, since he always made sure no one touched me and always made formal conversation with them, trying to negotiate a fit price. Yet, it had been 3 nights and I haven't been sold. Sometimes I would scan around the bar to see the clients, mostly old men dressed in suits, smiling and laughing with expensive bottles at their table. There were also other individuals, such as gangsters or people that were doing drugs in the other side of the bar. Hell, one night I saw the police chief hanging out with gangsters at the table. Dice and poker players were at the tables in front of the bartender, while the auction was on the other side of the bar. But the stage was highly illuminated, and there were live TVs around the bar showing the girls that were getting in and out of the stage. We were treated like superstars, as a way for everyone to get their eyes on us. However, there was one person in there that stood out to me the most. It was a young guy, probably around 24 or 26. He had shoulder-length hair, leather jacket, dark jeans, dark shirt, no facial hair, and thus he looked a bit young. He would sit in front of the bartender. He would not gamble, and he would rarely drink. He would not hang out with anyone other than himself. He would just sit there, looking in my direction. I could tell, because sometimes I felt his heavy stare when I would come onto the stage. One of the girls tried to talk to him one night, and he just ignored her. He looked very out of place, but he seemed to have a lot of chats with the bartender. The first night I saw him, he was talking with her, holding a newspaper, laughing, but I could tell he was serious about something. Easily, he was the most attractive guy at the bar, and on the third night, I caught his eye. It was an intense stare while he was playing with the drink he had on his hand. He waved, and I took advantage that Rick was distracted. So I walked to the guy to have a conversation and perhaps make my first negotiation. This is the biggest regret I have. This very damn moment, to the point I wish I would have been sold to some old man. But I'm not going to lie. I had a crush on this guy. He looked very different. When I got close to him, I noticed he had a chain around his neck. Not too tight and not too long. He had clear eye colour and a very charming smile, in contrast with all the pigs that gave me an awkward or disgusting grin. We chatted a bit, and that was enough for me to get charmed by him, as I remember that I desperately wanted him to take me for the night. The moment I tried to know how much he would bid for me, my boss showed up. I made the usual talk and negotiation while putting his hands on my shoulders like I was his daughter. When Rick asked how much he would offer me, the guy smiled and pulled out $500. I was surprised because no one usually pays with cash. They make private transactions with special currency. Also, he didn't look like the kind of guy to be carrying that amount of cash around, nor look serious enough when he offered the money. My boss got irritated as if he got offended by the offer. I yelled at him to get out and find the cheap bitches outside the bar. The guy smiled and gave me a wink and just left without causing more commotion. At this point, I became enraged because I felt shattered. The one guy I liked, I had some decent money on him, got kicked out only for me to be probably sold to an old, disgusting man. I thought that I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Out of desperation and anger, I walked out of the bar furiously, following the guy, and told him that I accepted his offer and wanted to get out of here. He hesitated, and I just began to push him out quickly before the shouting of Rick became louder as he was getting closer. We ran outside the bar towards the parking lot and got inside an elegant black car he had. He jetted out of there as I was pressuring him for us to leave quickly. Minutes have passed and it was an awkward silence. Not even music was playing on the radio. I thought the reason for the awkwardness was because I was quite nervous. After all, it was going to be my first time and I knew it was going to be soon with a guy I barely know. It was around 9:30 p.m. when instead of going home, he took me to a cafe that was quite far from the bar. He explained to me that he was drinking water at the bar and was quite hungry for a snack. I accepted to get in there, and it felt almost like a date. I don't remember much of that part of the story. I just remembered that he was constantly looking outside the cafe through the window, as if he was expecting something to happen or was waiting for someone to show up. It was very dark and the streets were empty, so I couldn't exactly see what he was looking at. He was quite nervous too, and wasn't as upbeat, and for the most part was on his thoughts. On the way back to his car, he took off his jacket and began driving to the outside of town. I asked him if he lived outside the town, and he simply said, yeah. But he seemed nervous. It was a bit of a long ride, and the nerves were making my stomach uneasy, and I got cold due to the dress I was wearing. Everything became even worse when we got to an old house near the woods. We parked in front of the house and he got out telling me something that threw me off and got me a little bit confused. I'm gonna go get something. Do not move or get out of this car, no matter what you see, no matter what you hear, and everything will be okay. He gave me a lame smile and then got out the car. I saw that he went behind the house and thought it was odd. I wasn't thinking properly. The nerves were just telling me that he probably just went to get protection and that we were probably just going to do it in the car. I took off my heels to get a little bit more comfortable and began pulling down the back zipper of my dress. Minutes felt so long and the winds were getting very loud to the point I could hear the wind hitting the windows. I noticed that I had 6 calls from Rick and I was scrolling through my phone. I heard something coming from the inside the house. I had to put my phone in my purse in the back seat, and after a couple of seconds, I heard again a very loud sound coming from inside the house. As much as I want to describe it, I can't say much since I thought that the wind was playing a trick on me. I opened the door since I wanted to stretch outside the car, and as I turned my head towards the front door, not even a second later, this creature breaks the door, jumping out of it very close to where the car was parked. I screamed in horror when I saw it was looking and sprinting at my direction. I got out of the car and ran with all of my energy out there towards the dark forest. I did not look back. I was in my terror. My heart was pounding out of my chest and my eyes tearing up while I was running through the woods. I did not even feel my feet running over sharp little rocks and branches on the way through the darkness. I heard a loud metal noise behind me, and then I heard the roar of the beast getting closer and closer. It caught up to me and pushed me to the ground. I was crying and with all my might turned around to see the horrible beast. It was easily the size of a bear. The head was what made me cry even more. Imagine the skull structure of a human, but with a long mouth of the horse and extremely large ears, almost as wide as an elephant and pointy as a donkey. The eyes, they were very small in comparison to its large head, and they were shaped like a human, but were completely white. The lipless mouth, the disgusting yellow teeth were showing, even if the beast had its mouth closed. I couldn't see the rest of the body, since it had me pinned down with its 2 front legs, and it was too dark. I can tell you, it was not a bear. The creature had no claws. They were long fingers, and I really did not feel anything sharp, but as I felt as if it could crush my bones, it would keep pressing on me. The creature was staring at me and it opened its mouth, letting a bunch of saliva get onto my chest. I was disgusted and wanted to vomit to the putrid smell coming out of this mouth. When the creature's tongue was sticking out, I went deaf. I couldn't hear my own screams and saw light behind the creature, like a car's headlights, for a second. The creature quickly got off me as if it was in a panic and was moving in circles attacking something that wasn't there. That is when I noticed a shadow moving in the darkness, but I couldn't see the figure very well. It was all in black and was moving quickly through the field. I did not even notice it was shooting arrows at the beast at first. My hearing came back and began hearing the whimper or crying of the beast getting louder and louder. I tried to get up and run away, but my body failed me, and I fell on my knees out of pain in my feet and the horror that I was witnessing. This monster, or thing, looked like an almost hairless bear, bones almost sticking out of a torso, with long chunks of hair in its body. It had no tail. The way it was moving around was like seeing a spider manoeuvring around with its 6 feet. The 2 black legs looked human, while the other legs were less than muscular and bonier, looking like human arms with long fingers. I do not know if it was mad or scared desperately to get away from the shadow, but the beast had become slower in speed and the arrows were piercing his skin. A final arrow went through his neck, making the creature fall, and it was sounding as if it was running out of air. I turned and began seeing the shadow take a man's figure as he dropped the weapon, rushed the animal with a small axe he had on his back, and began smashing the creature's skull with an axe. I was on my knees in shock while the man was mutilating the beast while putting organs in his bag. I was silent, numb, and only felt the tears on my cheeks. I only thought I was going to be next. If he killed that beast, what am I to him? The man stood up and removed his gloves, and after I noted he had a dark mask, he removed it and looked at me. And when I recognized his face, he was the guy that I came with. I broke crying once again when he said that it was over. He maintained his distance and was trying to calm me down. I was in a dead silence the rest of the night, even when he took me back to the house, where I saw that the car was now smashed from one side as if it had been hit by a truck. It took me to the back of the house further down, where a motorcycle was hidden between some bushes. He left his backpack, and after grabbing some clothes, he also grabbed a container of gasoline to burn the house. He explained to me that the house had to be burned down, and honestly, I wasn't paying attention. When he came out of the house, he was wearing the same bar clothes with the leather jacket. I was still in my head trying to process what had happened. He didn't burn the house. He gave me my heels and we were on our way. He asked me where he could drop me off. I just mumbled nonsense since I couldn't speak. He took me to a hotel and it took a while for me to get into the room. I guess the man in reception thought I was drunk. He took me to a room and gave me the keys, gave me the money he had and said that he was sorry before quickly leaving the room. I spent the most of that time in the shower, cleaning the monster's saliva that I felt was on me. The next day I did not eat. I stayed in a room crying the whole day. The reception often came by to see if I was okay, but I did not want to talk to them. They would have thought I was crazy. I didn't receive any phone calls that day. I thought my boss was still pissed at me or had fired me. I began writing that day to ask for help, but as I said before, they took me for a troll and I got banned from most forums that I posted this. No, I did not call the police. I know they wouldn't believe me, but today was different. I was more composed and got out of my room to go see Rick and try and move on. I took a shower. I had to put on the same dirty white dress from that day. While I was heading out, the reception man recognized me and told me he had a box for me, along with some flowers. I took the package and flowers, asking twice if it was really for me. He only nodded and said, "Room 201, my door number." I went back to my room and opened the package. Could Rick have known where I was? I thought. After all, he knew everybody and probably located me. I opened the package and broke down in tears. It was a bunch of money, my cell phone, my purse. But I put it all aside to what my eyes were seeing. It was a black hockey mask, along with a letter that only had a note inside. The note had a bunch of numbers and I only realised a little after. It was a phone number. Now I am here, writing my story again, hoping to reach someone out there with a similar experience as me. What do I do with my life? Rick hasn't called me in 2 days. I have no job, no friends, no family, and live in a town where there are probably more monsters out there. I guess I felt safe with that guy. He protected me and saved my life. But it is because of him that I will never sleep again. I want to dial the number. I want to find him and make him take me with him, because I know only he can protect me from the monsters lurking in the dark. This is the end of the testimony. I will post the second document tomorrow if this doesn't get deleted. I have been tracking a bounty hunter's story ever since 2016. Part 2 by Wolfscrown. Let's get straight into that. Second document. It was posted outside a town from an unknown device on a hidden forum. Title: A Wolf's Journal. If this is the first page of my journal you read, you should know that I am a bounty hunter. I hunt monsters, humans, cryptid, no difference as long as there is enough cash involved. To clarify, I am not a hunter raised to kill monsters, nor a government agent or a soldier. I do not get along with them. We don't have the same goals, and they despise my work. I work only for money. I am not a hero, and surely expect you and many to question my methods of hunting. My methods are not perfect, nor are they carefully crafted to save everyone, but they are efficient to get the job done. I take my contracts from witches, or that's what I call them. They are sometimes called mediums and communicate with spirits, thus they often sense dangerous negative energy and monsters from a fair distance. They pay very generously for alchemy materials that I get from these monsters, such as the eyes of a Wendigo, lycanthrope's heart or tongue, you name it. I would get in detail about what they do with these materials, as I once worked very closely with a witch that made cursed objects and sold them to people to get power positions or to harm others. But this story is not about that. I have killed plenty of things, and I always write in my journal in case something happens to me. I decided to post this story mainly to let other bounty hunters know that I'm still around, and give them a recording of how I killed this disgusting creature. They are rare, and you will know why. July 6th, 2016. I read a local newspaper case where there were 2 girls that were reported missing along with 2 men that were last seen with them walking out of a certain bar. Most people and some amateur hunters would disregard this case as an instance where 2 arseholes abducted the girls, abandoned town, and that's it. There are some details that led me to investigate furthermore the disappearance of these 4 individuals. City had a large forest right after leaving the city. The time frame between the girls going missing was 3 days, and one of the girls and 1 man were last seen last night. 3 days reminded me of a previous similar encounter, and my gut was telling me that there was something else in there. As I further investigated, I got to the bar where the girls were last seen. Let me tell you, it was more like a fancy casino. An entree fee of $80. Fuck me. Anyways, you would think the bar would get closed by authorities, but that was not the case. The bar was operating like nothing ever happened or anything weird was going on. There weren't many people there, so I approached the bartender and asked him if he knew the girls that went missing. He said that he knew one of the girls. She worked there for a man named Rick in the night shift. I could tell that the bartender wasn't a fan of Rick, but he could not give me more information since he did not work there in the night shift. What I did get from him is that these 2 girls were what they refer to as night girls, which I thought would offer adult services. They disappeared right after they got sold in an auction that the bar has at 9 p.m. Apparently the town does not have problems allowing such an event, since the bartender did not even try to keep the secret or keep his voice low. Once I left the bar, I got to a hotel room to put my gear and organise myself. If it was what I thought it was, then there was no time to lose. I guess I look like an average arsehole that goes to the bar at night, so I'd fit in perfectly with the crowd. I went to the bar at night now with more money, parked my motorcycle, paid the damn entree fee again, and made my way to the bartender for further information. Jesus Christ, I did not fit in at all with the crowd. People that were there looked like they not only had money, but also power and influence. It helped that there was a motorcycle club playing poker on one side of the bar and a bunch of hippies smoking on one corner. Anyways, I sat in front of the bartender and asked for a glass of water. She smiled and took advantage that no one was asking for drinks and began to chat with her to get more information about the missing people. At 9:10 p.m, the big TV and all the TVs around the bar suddenly changed channel to a live stream showing a bright stage. It took me a minute to notice it was this bar stage that was in the other side. A man emerged from a curtain, a man of ego, lust and greed. I saw in the TV he was wearing a white suit. It was like a formal auction, but he was offering his clients women to take home for the night. I wasn't paying much attention after most of the girls were selling rapidly for $200 to $500. There is no possible way for me to track all these individuals in case there was a killer among them, I thought. The bartender had told me that the two suspects were ordinary men, and that they had to abort the other girls that were still working there. It was a doable case, but none of the signals that I was looking for were there. I was thinking that maybe it was an abduction case, until my attention was taken by one man yelling $1,000. I looked at the TV to see what the hell, and there was this girl on stage. She looked quite young, but had enlightening beauty. She was blonde and wearing a very revealing white dress. For an instant I thought I was glaring at a real angel. The whole casino was silent, only with the classical music playing on in the background. The atmosphere broke when the man doing the auction turned down the offer. He was laughing and said that perhaps tomorrow there would be a better buyer, and that she was worth way more. The TVs went back to normal and the auction was over at 10 p.m. I was about to leave, but on my way back I noticed that the girl and the man were walking among the tables. The way the man was holding the girl by his side, his behaviour, not letting her out of his side, the grin he had, everything clicked. I left the bar, and as I got on my motorcycle I whispered, "Equisara." Now the real fun began. I've hunted this thing before, not the typical monster you read on the internet. They are very secretive and are very careful when hiding their identity, until they get sloppy in their mating season. They usually have 3 female victims, usually young to the liking of the beast. There is a time frame of 3 to 4 days between the victims disappearing, and so it made sense. There was still 1 victim left, and time was running out. Right now, I thought, I needed the location of its lair, and he will lead me right to it before anything tragic happens. I stayed overnight and waited for the man to get out of the bar, and I followed him with my eyes and saw the vehicle he drives and took a quick picture of the plate number. That's all I needed to know for now. I came back to the hotel and began making preparations. It's often an advantage that I don't use firearms. I don't have a license for them, nor would I have space for them in my backpack. I know what I hunt, and I don't make the same mistakes twice. If you are a hunter, you have to be quick in making decisions. Take too long, and the beast gets away. Move too fast, and you get yourself killed. As I said before, I'm doing this for the money. An Equisaria only transforms during its mating acts, as far as I know. They live 95% of their life in human form, but when they need to mate, they transform, and you can imagine what they do to the victims. These things are only males. There are no females in their species. I once heard from another bounty hunter that these things had some sort of connection with skinwalkers, but I don't give a damn. I need to kill it when it's transformed to get the materials from its corpse. The only time they show their true form is when they are alone with the victim. And if you are still reading this, I guess it intrigues you to know more about this monster. It gets graphic. The girl who bears the child disappears, and then there is no trail of her body, as if she was devoured. There are 2 theories. One says that the little fuck monster eats the mother, which is the best explanation if you still want to sleep at night. The second theory, one I heard from a witch, said that these little cunts actually absorb the mother to form themselves, meaning they reuse the skin tissue to form their body while the rest of the victim corpse is used for the infant's nutrients to develop. In many instances, the Equisaria in its adult form shows chunks of hair coming from its body that are like the victim's. Also 1 pair of legs, 2 female arms that can possibly be the mother's limbs. Not pleasant to imagine, I assume, but also even less pleasant to witness. July 7th, 2016. This morning, I went out to gather my resources to kill this monster. I needed poisoned, piercing arrows. It won't kill it, but it sure will immobilize the creature, or at the very least slow it down. The poison is a very simple recipe. If you are a hunter, you know which one I'm talking about. If you don't, then I won't risk the recipe to fall to the hands of amateurs. To kill the beast, I go old school, and I use a silver axe that I always carry with me. I'm excited. The Equisaria are very rare and sells extremely well in the right markets. I could easily make $3,000 if I don't damage the materials. So, I need a flashbang, a black mask, black gloves, and a car, I thought. If this is the first time you are hearing about this creature, pay attention to this. The flashbang is necessary to really hurt the son of a bitch. They have incredible auditory senses and use their ears more than their eyes. Don't get me wrong, they are not blind, but they are more efficient at using their hearing to track their target. They transform at night, which is why I always have dark camouflage gear in my backpack. But I still needed a mask and gloves to fully cover my body. If the flashbang damages its ears, the creature will use their eyes to look for me, but it would barely see me if I looked like a shadow. The mask is extremely important in case things go south and the Equisaria escapes. These things hold grudges, and if I was going to spoil its meal, he would track me wherever I go if he knew my identity. I forgot to mention that I use a spray can to cover my scent. We humans tend to have a very pleasant smell to most cryptids. As far as the car, I would just have to steal one, since I do not want to damage my motorcycle. The plan was very simple. Go to the nest at noon, kill the monster's infants who should be harmless, hide my gear close by, and get back to the bar. When the show starts, I would go inside and shoot an arrow to the wheel of the monster's car so it will give me enough time to get back to the nest and get ready to kill it when it gets there and fully transforms. Anyways, I went outside and spent all day buying the stuff I needed, and then went back to the bar at night to see what happens. What if the girl sold today? Everything would have gone to shit, and I had to leave town empty pockets. You cannot rush these things. Preparation must be made. Even a hunter would know better and not kill the guy, even if he just wants to prevent another person from dying. This is a very rich district, and there is police everywhere. The kill had to be done outside town to not get in trouble with authorities. During its mating season, they constantly go to their nest to check on their infants at night. I took advantage of that. Today, I followed his car in with my motorcycle, and it led me to what looked like an old house outside the town, surrounded by forest and the highway. Of course, I had to keep driving forward when he turned to the house in order to not raise any suspicion. I waited for an hour, came back to see it was not there anymore. I suck at tracking time and forgot that I just had 24 hours left before the beast acts on. I went outside the house to hide my motorcycle and noticed there were 2 cars outside the back of the house. They were open, keys inside as if they were left there, and I imagined they did not belong to the beast. It was a dark car and a blue Mustang. I chose the dark car mainly because it blends with the dark. I picked a lock from the back door of the house to not waste time tomorrow, but that was about it. The infants were probably still moving around since they are nocturnal creatures. I came back to the hotel with my new car and grabbed everything to put it in the trunk to be ready for the big day tomorrow. Hopefully, I will still be alive to tell the tale. July 8th, 2016. These creatures do not deserve to be alive. Angel smiled upon me. Very early morning, I went to the old house or the nest. Now fully geared, I broke into the house. Dark house, lights didn't work. I had to use my flashlight to navigate around the house and made my way to the 2nd floor. The place reeked of human blood, and there was a trail of blood leading upstairs. The odour and the trail led me to one room. Inside was the rest of the hunter. This is what you fucks get for trying to be the hero. Next to the body was a pistol with silver bullets scattered around it. The girl must have thought she was hunting a werewolf. It looked like she was still alive before bleeding to death. Her wounds were very serious, and her legs were broken. On her hand was a note. I did a quick glance at it, and it had the address of a house along with the words, "I love you." I imagine she wants me to tell her family of her fate, so I took the necklace and the note to fulfill her last wish. I might not get along with the hunters, soldiers or agents, but they are the ones that put their lives on the line every day to let their kids and other people live normally and worry only about buying the next phone or get a job. I went downstairs to the basements, axe on one hand, flashlight on the other. The smell of blood was stronger than before. First thing I saw were the rest of the two missing males, with chunks of flesh and bone floating in urine, blood and feces. I was admiring the sight until I heard movement on one side. I quickly turned to see the infants, or at least the only one who was still alive. No hesitation, you rush these things before anything happens. I killed the little pest before it had any chances to crawl away. This is when I noticed the other infant was missing its head. So probably these two had a friendly brawl between brothers. I crushed both parasites before leaving the basement and returning to the second floor to leave everything ready for the night. I settled the crossbow with the arrows, 2 flashbangs and my camouflage gear. I figured I'd have to use my knife to deal with the wheels of the Equestria's car, so it would save me time. I would have left the bar after the girl would have been sold, or just before 10 p.m. after the auction was over. Either way, the creature would be in a nest by midnight with the girl, so it can do its last transformation. I was at the bar at night, even earlier since I had to think of all the possibilities. Time passed quickly. I was also getting anxious. The auction started, and it went by similarly as before. But now someone yelled, $1,200 for the girl, and she wasn't sold. This threw me off. The previous kills showed that the girl was sold to someone, and then the Equestria tracked them and brought them to its lair. Was he going to convince someone to buy her? I was playing with my drink, very mortified in my mind, when the blonde girl in the dress looked at me while walking with her boss. Shit. If she had known what the bastard would do to her this night. I signalled for a hello and smiled. She started walking towards me and we began talking. She seemed like a very nice girl that night, very flirtatious. But then the beast came up to me and we looked eye to eye. I wanted to grab him, kill him on the spot, but that would be stupid. I grinned at him. After all, this was the night he was going to be prey. He wanted to sell me the girl, and well, I had $500. I showed him the cash knowing he would reject the offer. And hilariously enough, he kicked me out. I laughed and gave a wink to the girl, my way of saying everything was going to be okay. I started walking away to the door when I heard the girl yelling. Before I could even turn to see what's up, I felt a pair of hands pushing me out the place. It was the blonde girl. She was pushing me, saying that she wanted to get out of here with me. I wasn't looking at her. I got petrified when I looked at the monster's anger in its eyes. That was the look of a predator looking at its prey, and now it was pissed at me. The door closed and I rushed to the car and got the hell out of there. Out of all the possibilities of things that could have gone wrong, this had to be the one that was way worse than anything. Now the cunt had seen my face, and not only that, I stole its meal. I had an hour and a half before midnight, and my head, I was already dead and on my guard, looking behind the car to see if I was being followed. I decided to go for a last meal at a local cafe with a young girl who still looked pissed or embarrassed. I invited her to dinner. After all, if things went south, this was our last meal on Earth. Most of the time we spent eating. I was looking outside the window to see if the Equestria was roaming and waiting for us, or I just felt it was going to appear at any moment. I'm usually the hunter, not the one being hunted. 30 minutes before midnight, I drove the girl to the nest. There was no point in delaying the beast to show up. I decided to wait exactly 30 minutes before I go to the house, because that way the girl will still be in the car. And if things went well and lucky, the Equestria would get to the nest and I would just have to throw everything at it. When we arrived at the house, I noticed that the girl was extremely nervous. I just told her to ease off, but that she should remain in the car, and no matter what, she never ever leaves, no matter what she sees or hears. She just looked confused while playing with her hair, so I just left the car. I entered the backside, went upstairs and sprayed myself to cover my scent or pre-scent. Then I heard one window break on downstairs. I wasn't even fully geared. My crossbow was at the other side of the room, and I only had one flashbang and my axe on my side. Remember what I said? Don't be the hero. Well, realistically, you can't. It arrived earlier than I thought, and it was a mistake that could have cost me my life. I gently lowered my body to not make a sound. I heard the damn thing coming upstairs, and I began sweating. I guess it helped that the wind outside was covering my sweat hitting the floor. But suddenly everything went silent. I would not have been surprised if the thing could still hear my breathing or my loud heartbeat. It landed on the other side of the wall, outside the room. It sounded like a cannon, and it moved me a little. I was already opening the flashbang when I heard a noise outside. The sound of the car door opening. The girl had just dug her own grave. I felt the thing launched from where it was downstairs to going outside the house. Its strong limbs allowed it to launch forward, having a capacity to hit like a bulldozer and jump large distances like a jumping spider in its 6 limbs. I started putting everything on, my gear, getting this crossbow ready, backpack on, axe, flashbang on hand, mask and gloves on. I heard the girl screaming and the sound of the monster hitting the car. I acted quickly. I rushed outside and I just saw the damaged car. I could hear the beast running towards the dark forest, and so I ran towards it. I saw the beast on top of the girl and quickly threw a flashbang. I turned, then looked back and quickly began shooting at the beast with the poisoned arrows. The dark camouflage worked like a charm. The monster had trouble seeing me. And without its ears, you are invincible. My 5th arrow crossed its neck and the thing was already slow and whimpering. I felt the rush in my blood. I dropped the crossbow and rushed the creature with my axe. I crushed its skull with 3, 4, 5, 6 slashes. I was mad. I could feel the blood getting through the mask to my face. I was enjoying it. After completely killing it, I began extracting important parts of the creature. The heart, the eyes, the teeth, the 4 ring fingers, and the 3 flasks of blood. I stood up and noticed the girl looking at me in fear. Was she afraid of me? I told her that it was over. The beast was dead. I tried calming her down and tried explaining to her what happened. But I guess I didn't communicate well since she looked paler than she was. We went back to the house. She was grabbing my arm, crying and mumbling. I took her to the motorcycle that was behind the house and explained to her that first I had to grab my stuff and burn the house down to avoid some unfortunate soul to wander in and see the monsters in the basement. I guess she understood, and so I went to the basement and scattered the gasoline I had, but did not light it. I went to the car outside for my jacket and noticed the girl's belongings. I just left her stuff there except for the heels. I will return for them tomorrow, after I came back and burned everything to ash. I took everything with me along with the girl. I kept asking where she lived, but she was just quietly singing to herself on the way back. I took her to my hotel room, and the receptionist gave me crap because he thought I was going to abuse the girl. I explained that I was not going to stay there, and that she would feel the remaining days that I had left in my room. It was 2 a.m, so there wasn't anyone in the lobby than him. I told him to follow us if he did not believe me, and he followed. I left the girl to her room and gave her the money that I had that night on me. I went back to the house, guilt in me after seeing how broken I left the girl in the room. Now you see why other hunters don't like me, why I work alone. I don't have time to deal with people, not anymore. I don't want any bonds. I only have one thing that I care about, I thought, until I heard her voice. I stopped in the middle of the road. It was her. Sometimes I feel her presence, and Mick's too. I continued the road, burned the house, went back to the carcass of the beast and covered it in dirt and stones and branches and so on. Before leaving, I took the girl's belongings. July 9th, 2016. I did not sleep. I went back to the witch and gave her the stuff. I took her a couple of hours to come back, but she gave me my money. As quickly as she handed my money and I gave her the materials, she began chugging the blood to verify it was a matured equisaria. The infants don't sell, and their materials are useless, and their proportions are quite insignificant. Either way, I now had 3,200 in cash. Guilt was raging over my head as I remembered the voice of last night and the poor girl I left. What have I done? I destroyed her life. She saw a monster and probably has no idea of what could have happened to her. Does she have a family? Shit. She is scared for life. I just left without answering any questions. I bought a box, put my mask inside of it so she knew it was me who sent it. I wrote a note to her with my phone number in case she needs my help, or I guess answer her questions. I also added to the box her phone, purse and all the money I had got from the contract because she helped in killing the beast, risked her own life and against her own will. Yeah, I don't deserve it. I bought some flowers out of my pocket for her to hope she recovers. Best case scenario, her mind plays that memory is a bad dream and continues to live life normally. I left the flowers in the box to the receptionist of the hotel, gave him the room number and told him to deliver her the flowers as soon as possible or as soon as she was feeling better. I guess I'm going to rest elsewhere. July 10th, 2016. It's already late. I investigated the address of the note left by the dead hunter. It is a town in Illinois, and it is quite far, but I guess I must deliver. That's what they would have wanted me to do. This life is not easy. This journey leads only to one end. I still need a bunch of cash, and I can't afford to work for free or get sentimental again. But I did it for them, for the Wolf's pack, not for the dead hunter or the girl. Interesting. Phone is ringing. These were the posts that were censored and taken down by us. The girl and the guy in question abandoned town on July 10th, 2016. The case was closed after the feds went to the forest and did their own investigation. After reading these posts, we were not given any information, only that we should not speak of the incident again. We obeyed, but I have been keeping track of both individuals. They kept posting, but on another website. Who knows? Maybe I will upload other parts of the Wolf's journal here in the future. Wow. Awesome stuff. Thank you ever so much, Wolfscrown, for the permission to narrate the story on the channel and share it with all of the wonderful community here. As ever, guys and girls, please do let me know down below in the comments what you thought. Please do like and share, help build our channel and our community further and help us smash through that 30,000 subscriber mark. I hope you're all well and happy and looking forward to a wonderful, warm weekend, chilling out and relaxing, listening to your favourite shows, or spending time with friends and family. And above all, remember, be safe, not sorry.